I'll be using a circle to begin making the book. I add a circle with 24 vertices, rotating it around the x-axis by 90 degrees. In edit mode, I delete most of the vertices on the right side. This will be the spine of the book. I select the top and bottom vertices and extrude them out along the x-axis. I then extrude these vertices a second time along the x-axis. I select all the vertices, and using the E and S keys, I add some thickness. I select the outer vertices of the covers and scale them by 0 along the x-axis. I select all the vertices and extrude it back along the y-axis. I select all of the interior vertices and use the F key to add a face to each side of the book. This will be the pages of the book. I add a horizontal edge to the longest page face, moving it along the x-axis. I then add a bevel with multiple cuts to add a bend to the pages. I add an edge loop to the smallest parts of the spine, the edge along the z-axis. I can then add a bevel to make these parts of the book rounded, separating the spine from the front and back covers. I add a curve object and rotate it around the z-axis by 90 degrees. In edit mode, I scale and move the curve into place for the bookmark. I move the vertices to give the bookmark an interesting shape. Under the Object Data Properties tab, I changed the resolution preview to 4 so the mesh won't be so dense. In Object mode, I right-click and convert the curve into a mesh. In Edit mode, I extrude the vertices along the x-axis. I add a center loop cut and use it to shape the bookmark. I select the pages and use the P key to separate them. I do this with the front and back cover as well. Under the UV editing workspace, I select the inner and outer curves of the spine and one horizontal edge along the bottom. I select the object, right-click, and select Mark Seams. I then use the U key to unwrap the object. I select the pages and select the two vertical edges. I select the object, right-click, and select Mark Seams. I then use the U key to unwrap the object. I select the front cover and select the front vertical edges, the horizontal top and bottom edges, and one edge along the back. I select the object, right-click, and select Mark Seams. I then use the U key to unwrap the object. I repeat these steps for the back cover of the book. For the bookmark, I can simply unwrap it. I make a new 2K UV map. I select all of the objects, and in edit mode, I unwrap everything onto one UV map. I turn on the UV sync option. I select the bottom page face and rotate it into position. I repeat this process for each of the islands. This will help when I use another program to paint the textures. Once I have everything separated and in the correct orientation, I move and scale everything to fit within the UV space. I select all of the textures, and under the UV menu, I select Export UV Layout. I used Adobe Illustrator to make my textures, but you can use Photoshop, Krita, Affinity Designer, GIMP, etc. Whatever you have access to and feel comfortable using. I won't bore you with the details of how I did the texture, but I'll take you through the general process. The important thing to remember is to place your texture on layers beneath the exported UV. When you do save this texture, make sure to turn the UV layer off so it won't show up on the model. For the front cover, I add a simple dark blue color with a darker shade on the front cover that's facing the pages. I also add this same blue to the edges of the front cover. I made a simple decorative piece with a gold color to add to the front cover. For the back cover, I added a darker shade of the blue I used on the front cover. I also made a slightly darker shade for the very bottom of the book cover. The blue color was also added to the edges of the back cover. For the spine, I used the same blue as the front cover. I used the darker shade on the bottom face of the spine. I also added some blue and gold decorations. I added a red color for the bookmark. I then used the pen tool to add a golden decoration to the bookmark. I also added a rectangle to act as a shadow to the top of the bookmark. For the pages, I use the gradient tool to make the gradient for the pages. I then use the pen tool to add some page indicators. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and turn on notifications. If you want to request a tutorial, please leave a comment below. Have a good day.